smaller green building sites. And thank you very much. And over those 10 years, and more recently in the last 2 years, I've focused on this question. What does an anti-capitalist building site look like? So, let's begin. Number 1, stretch. Way, thank you very much. I can see some stretches. I mean this stretching, exactly. I don't mean stretching to meet a deadline or stretching to understand what on earth is going on with this joint and that joint. I mean bringing the focus to our bodies and listening to what our bodies' needs are. Because all we've got to navigate through this world and our building sites is this body, is our bodies. And if we stretch, then we can start to understand a little more about what we need to bring to the world. Because it's in our bodies where our emotions sit. It's in my body where I've got that shame of being 41 and not earning as much as I expected I'd be earning by now. It's in my body where I have the disappointment of not getting that job. It's in my body where when I arrive at work and I'm working with a really fantastic team, it's my body that experiences that joy. And when we stretch, or when I stretch, I recognize where that emotion sits in my body. And then if I need to, I can release that. And what seems remarkable to me is that even though this is the case, when I wake up every morning, I don't ask myself the question, what does my body need today? I ask myself, how much can I get done? How much can I fit into my day? But if each one of us did ask ourselves that question, what does my body need today? And then we took the time to give it to ourselves, there'd be a revolution. So my body wants a comfortable, even luxurious tea break hut. I want clean cups. I want a lovely clean table. I want somewhere dry to hang my wet clothes if it's really wet and cold outside. My body wants, what else does it want? It wants to celebrate something every day, even if that day's gone pretty badly by all accounts. There must be something to celebrate. And my body wants to reclaim happiness and create new definitions of success. So I learned this, I did a course called the Feminist Business School, and the tutor, Jen Armbrust, said this phrase. And when she first said it, I was like, easy enough. I'll have a think about what I want, what will give me happiness, and then I'll go and do it. But the deeper I've got into this, the more I found, actually, it's incredibly hard to shake off the definition of success that my parents had for me, the definition of success that society puts upon us, or the definition of success that capitalism says we should be striving towards. So what is capitalism? This is a definition from Wikipedia. It says that capitalism is an economic system based on private ownership of the means of production and their operation for profit. So the ultimate goal of capitalism is profit. That's what we have to put all of our effort into working towards. The problem with that is it means that there's companies like Northern Water that when they make a 1.9 million pound profit, that goes directly to their shareholders. But it doesn't get spent on fixing all of the leaks in the water system that we have. And there's another lie of capitalism, and that's the myth of the meritocracy. Margaret Thatcher talked a lot about the meritocracy, and it was told to us as a fantastic thing. The meritocracy means that regardless of our sex, our race, regardless of whether we were born with inherited wealth, All we've got to do is work hard enough and we will achieve success. We will achieve the capitalist version of success. The meritocracy puts productivity above everything else. And the meritocracy speaks directly to our egos. What our ego hears is, we have to strive and struggle, and we have to do the work. And if we do that, we'll be happy. So, all of these things, the more I've thought about them, the more I've actually seen that all of these things are part of me. This is how I live out many of my working days in my life and the happiness that I've been striving for. And there's a really useful quote from someone called Emma Appleton from Dismantling Racism Works. So he used this to talk about the culture of white supremacy, to explain that it's a systemic part of the world that we live in. He says, culture is so powerful because it is so present and at the same time so very difficult to name or identify. So the definition of capitalism that we saw was about an economic system. And what I would say is that capitalism is it's not only an economic system, but it's also an ideology, a culture that we all work within, often unknowingly and not really thinking about it. And alongside capitalism comes the patriarchy. So my definition that I've chosen for patriarchy comes from Terence Real. So Terence Real is a psychologist, he's a relationship psychologist. He does a lot of work with couples, and he does a lot of work with men feeling depression. And he says that the patriarchy is the dynamic between those qualities deemed masculine and those feminine, when half of those qualities are exalted and the other half are devalued. The reason why I like this quote is because it's not talking about men and women, it's talking about masculine and feminine. Inside each one of us, we have masculine and feminine qualities. I have those qualities, both of those sets of qualities inside me. And I have felt the more I've worked in the building industry, the more those masculine qualities have got stronger and stronger, and I've lent on them much more. So, what are those qualities that I'm talking about? So you can agree or disagree with this. Where this has come from is, it's in a book called The Athena Doctrine, and it's the culmination of a survey panel done by two people, one called John Gesimer and Michael D'Antonio. And they did a survey of 64,000 people across 13 different countries. And they asked the question, what qualities do you deem masculine and what do you deem feminine? So I'll just pick a couple out. On the masculine side, we've got assertive, direct, proud, logical, independent, progressive, aggressive, brave, daring. On the feminine side, gentle, emotional, generous, honest. I like the trendy one. I mean, I wasn't very trendy before I started on building sites, and I'm still not very trendy. But, so some of those are surprising, but what I felt like overall is that these made sense to me. And they made sense to me that the world that I live in this society, exalts those qualities which are on the masculine side much more than the feminine one. An economic system that pushes towards speed and efficiency and growth, rather than generosity and honesty and self-care. And this is what I see when I go into the builders' merchants. Big wipes, tough tape measures, and aggressive accessories. None of these are made up, by the way. They're all directly from the packaging. So it's no wonder that in this industry, if the products have to be big and tough and aggressive, that the people working in this industry have to do the best to be those things as well. The culture of the building industry is very often one where it's not acceptable to show our weaknesses. That vulnerability is seen as a weakness instead of a strength. And sharing our feelings is just not okay. It's also an industry which suffers from the highest number of suicides than any other profession. It's actually 1.6 times higher than the national average. It takes something from big wipes and tough tape measures to a serious epidemic of a system that just isn't working. If we focus on only one part of ourselves, and we focus on a drive solely towards profit and speed and efficiency, and we forget and push aside all of that other part of ourselves, which involves talking about our feelings, using our generosity and honesty and speaking our truth, something needs to change. So, what would happen if we met each morning and shared how everyone is feeling as well as the tasks for the day? I said this to a group of people, a group of apprentices, and one of them piped up and said, "We don't even know each other's names on the site that I work on." And the site manager said, there's not time. If we told each other everyone else's name, then there wouldn't be time to get the job done. So sharing feelings on some sites is a long way off from what people are experiencing right now. A different site manager I was talking to, who works on multi-million-pound projects, talked of the mental health of the people who were working on his site. He said that quite often there's fights breaking out. Quite often he can tell that people aren't doing well. But he knows, and his bosses know, that there are plenty of other people who want the work and are willing to do it. So it's not cost effective to put that investment into the mental health provision. There's no profit-driven need to put the time and investment into it. So what audacious experiment do we want to make to change this? And the reason why I say audacious is directly from a quote from someone called Jen Armbrust. So she says, to do something as audacious as to call your business feminist. Now, I'm swapping those words for as to call your building site anti-capitalist. Requires showing up every day with humility, heart, intrepid creativity, criticality, courage, and self-love. It requires accountability to yourself, your business, as well as to the larger social project of dismantling patriarchal and oppressive systems. An anti-capitalist building site is an experiment. It's an experiment that I'm working on every day, and many, many mistakes are being made by me as I'm working out what an anti-capitalist building site is. But if all of us are listening to our bodies and asking the question, what does my body want today? And what audacious experiment do I want to make? We're going some of the way there. So some of the answers that I've come up with in this talk have all come from 100 ways to create an anti-capitalist building site. So this is a report that I wrote as some kind of answer. But as I was writing it, I got to the end of it and I thought, if someone else wrote this, they would write 100 different ones. And someone else could write 100 different more. What I did in writing this was think about what my values are and put them directly at the center of how I want to run my business and how I want my building sites to look. And so I leave you with number 100. Be prepared for the building site to be a transformative place for everyone involved. Thank you very much.
Follow that, Francois.